In this lecture, we will consider how our prior knowledge that we have affects our present perception. Before we further proceed with the topic, let's do a little mental exercise. Please consider this situation and see if you can come up with a solution. A father and his son are involved in a horrific car accident. The father dies at the scene, while the son is rushed to a nearby hospital. And at this hospital, Dr. Smith, a very skilled and experienced surgeon, came into the operating room, looked at the boy, and said, "Oh no, I can't operate on this boy. He's my son." Okay, now the question is, what kind of a relationship do the kid and Dr. Smith have? How are they related to each other? So please take a moment to think of a plausible solution. Okay, did you reach a conclusion? So how could this be? Well, some of you might thought the father who died at the accident might have not been the boy's real father, or Dr. Smith might have gotten a divorce with the boy's mother, and thus is the real father of the child. Or might it be that the father who died and Dr. Smith are a LGBT couple, and maybe the kid is an adopted child? Although you could probably come up with many alternative answers to this dilemma, there is one very simple solution to the problem that many of you might have missed, which is that the Dr. Smith is the boy's mother. Okay, so was this a surprise for you? Well, let me see with a show of hands how many of you imagined that Dr. Smith was a male character and not a woman. Okay, be honest and raise your hands in front of the screen. Yes, although I cannot see you, I believe that I see quite a number of hands going up. Now, coming back to how this story was written, you realize that there was no mention of the gender of Dr. Smith. It just stated her name. But when people read through this story, the image that they get, the typical image, it tends to be a male figure because of this word surgeon. And for those who generated such an image, this riddle becomes a very unnecessary hard to solve. And this indicates that people associate the image of a surgeon with the typical gender of that occupation, mostly without knowing that they did so. And this is an illustration of a gender stereotype that is prevalent in people's way of thinking. So the main topic of today's lecture is the issue of stereotype and how it influences our understanding of other people. Okay, about the surgeon's dilemma case, here are some data about how people respond to this riddle. A group of researchers have conducted a study at Boston University using this riddle, and as a result, 85% of the students who were given this story could not come up with the mom's the surgeon answer. As a side note, in this sample of students who participated in this study, there were more female than male students. So women outnumbered men 2-to-1 in this study. And they typically had mothers who were employed or were doctors. Yet they had difficulty reaching this simple answer, even though their mothers were employed or were even doctors. And interestingly, the results were no different in this alternate version of the riddle, which is a mother is killed, her daughter is sent to the hospital, and a nurse declines to attend to the patient because the girl is my daughter. In this case, few people guessed that this nurse might be the child's father, even though nurse is not a profession limited to women, right? Both male and female could work as a nurse. So in both cases, people automatically and unintentionally applied the gender stereotype that surgeons consist of males and nurses consist of females. So what is the definition of a stereotype? A stereotype is a belief about the personal attribute of a group of people. So it's a belief about some characteristics that is related to some group of people, such as race or gender. And another way of describing a stereotype is to say that it's generalizing an understanding about the group of people. So it consists of descriptions of traits, abilities, physical characteristics, as well as certain behaviors that the group is expected to take. And stereotypes may be troublesome because they are sometimes overgeneralized, inaccurate, and resistant to new information. And they are also sometimes accurate. These are some examples of gender-related stereotypes. People may believe that women are more nurturing than men, while men are more independent than women. And people may view women as more whiny and men as more arrogant. So as you can see, stereotypes could include both positive and negative aspects about the group. And stereotypes also include interests and abilities that the group may have, images related to physical characteristics, and also expected roles in society, such as women being the homemaker and men being business managers, or women being the nurses and men being the surgeons, as we saw in the earlier example. Also, ethnic and racial stereotypes are another example of stereotypes that exist in society. This table shows a result of surveys based on a representative sample of the American adult population. It shows how much people indicated positive or negative images related to each of these traits, such as intelligence, hardworking or lazy or violent, for each racial groups: white, Asian Americans, Hispanics, blacks, etc. So for example, on the dimension of intelligence, the white and the Asian Americans were viewed to be more intelligent, so there were more positive traits associated with these groups, while the Hispanics and the black people were viewed as less intelligent. And on the dimension of hardworking or lazy, the whites and Asians were regarded as hardworking, while the Hispanics were seen as relatively more lazy. And also there is this persistent stereotype that black people are more violent in general. Okay, this is the end of the first video, and here is the response number for this video.